Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we're going to learn how to include our variables inside of our log messages. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so at this point, we know how to print out a plain text log message like the ones that we did up here. Now we're going to learn how to include our variables like the ones that we created down here inside of these messages. This is going to be extremely important because it's going to let us see the values of our variables inside of the editor so that we have a better understanding of what the code is doing. So let's go ahead and delete all of this. And we're going to start off by creating a new integer variable. The data type is int. The name for this is going to be number of apples. I'm going to set this to be 10 because I have 10 apples in my kitchen. This is just for the sake of an example. And then we're going to print this variable inside of our uelog function call. So let me re-explain how these function calls work. So first of all, uelog is actually a macro instead of a function, but they look exactly the same. So at this point in the course, we're not going to get into the details of that. We're just going to continue calling it a function. In order to make a function call, we're going to type in the name of the function, in this case uelog. Then we're going to provide a set of parentheses, and at the end of the line, a semicolon to indicate the end of this statement. Inside of the parentheses, we're going to provide the arguments of the function. The arguments are the values a function needs in order to operate properly. Some functions don't have any arguments, so with them you can just leave the parentheses empty, but some do require arguments. In the case of uelog, the first argument is the log category. We're going to provide log temp for this. Temp stands for temporary. We are always going to use the same category, so you can just memorize this and keep using it. Before the next argument, we need to put down a comma, and the next argument is going to be the level of importance. We learned how to use display in the past. We have a couple other options like warning, which I believe is going to display the log message in yellow, and there's also error, which is going to display it in red. In this case, we're just going to continue using display for a regular log message. After that, we're going to place down another comma, and then we're going to provide the text. uelog wants us to create a text using the text function. This is also a macro actually, but we're just going to continue calling it a function because it looks exactly the same like I said. We're going to type in text in all capital letters and then put a set of parentheses. Inside of them, we're going to place down 2 double quotes. And in that, we know we can create a string that is going to be printed to the output log. So far, everything is the same. And now we're going to learn how to include a variable like this one right here inside of this text message. So first of all, I'm going to type here number of apples, colon, and then I want to include the number of apples I have, which is 10. And to do that, I'm going to place down a format specifier. I can do that by placing down a percentage sign and then D. The percentage sign is a special character that means I want to place down a variable inside of this string, and D means that this variable is going to be an integer. Then after the text here, I'm going to place down a comma, and I'm going to provide number of apples. I'm going to save it as well. So once again, let me explain how this is going to work. We have our text message right here. It's saying number of apples, colon, percentage D, which is the format specifier. The percentage D is going to be replaced by number of apples. So in the end, it's going to go away, and number of apples will be replaced. So in this case, number of apples is 10. So this is going to be 10 in the end. So let's go ahead and make sure we save this file, go into Unreal, compile it with live coding, play the game. And you can see that we are printing number of apples, colon, 10. The format specifier is replaced with the value of number of apples. You can also see that the category is log temp and the level of importance is display. just like we specified. We can also print multiples of these inside of the same message. We don't need to use a single one. So for example, I could place down another %d here. And if I create another integer variable, let's say number of oranges, and let's say this is 7. All I have to do is after number of apples, place down a comma again, and this time give number of oranges. And now number of oranges will be displayed after the second format specifier right here. And the order here is important. So the first format specifier will be replaced by the first argument here after the text. And the second one right here will be replaced by the second one. Let's go ahead and test this out as well. Let's save it. Let's compile it. Play the game. And you can see that we are printing 7 after 10. And the 7 is the number of oranges integer variable we created. Good. Like I mentioned, %d is for printing an integer variable inside of our text. We also have two other format specifiers for floats and strings. Printing out a floating point number is going to be extremely similar to what we did here, and that is why I'm going to give that to you as a challenge. So go ahead and create a float variable and assign a value to it. The name isn't important, you can name it anything you want, and the value is also not important as long as it's a floating point number. After that, I want you to log it using uelog, and as a tip, you need to use the %f format specifier in this case because it's a float. So follow the exact same pattern I showed you with the integer, but this time you're going to create a float instead of an int, and you're going to use %f instead of a %d. Go ahead, give it a shot, and come back when you're done. Okay, so let's create a float variable. So we'll say float for the data type. The name, I'm going to go with my height. And I'm going to assign it using the assignment operator, 182.5, because that's my height in centimeters. And then I'm going to place down an f at the end of this, because I want this to be a float. And of course, a semicolon at the end of the statement. Then we're going to create a uelog. We can simply copy and paste this one. We don't need to write it again. So I'm going to left click hold and select all of this, hit Ctrl C to copy it, and down here I'm going to hit Ctrl V to paste it. We're going to delete everything inside of the text, inside of the double quotes, and we're also going to delete these arguments at the end. We're going to keep the comma here though, because we're going to need it. Inside of the text, I'm going to type my height is, and then I'm going to place down the format specifier %f for a float. Then after the text, we're going to say my height, and we're going to keep the comma there, which is important, like I said. So in this case, just like it happened up there, we're going to get rid of the format specifier, and we're going to place down my height instead of that when we print this message. Make sure you save it. Let's go into Unreal, compile this, play the game, and you can see that we're printing my height is 182.5, which is working as we expected. There's a bunch of zeros at the end of it because it's a decimal point number. There's a way to get rid of them, but we can just learn that at a later time. And the next thing I want to show you is how to print a string inside of our uelog message. Let's create a variable. This is going to be of type fstring. I'm going to call this my name, and I'm going to set it equal to, or assign it to a string that says Khan Alpar, which is my name. At the end, we're going to place down a semicolon. Feel free to use your own name. You don't need to print my name. And after this, we're going to create a uelog message, which we can just copy and paste from here. we're going to get rid of the text, and we're also going to get rid of this my height. Inside of the text, we're going to say my name is, and the format specifier for a string is %s. And then after the text, we're going to place down the comma, and then we're going to provide my name. However, this isn't going to be enough because UElog wants us to convert the F string to a different format that it wants. In this case, we can place down an asterisk before my name to convert it to the format UElog requires. We're not going to get into the details of how and why this works. It is beyond the scope of this lecture. Just know that when you're using UElog with an F string, you need to give it an asterisk so that it is in the format it wants. So just like in the other two examples, the format specifier is going to be replaced with the string that we're going to provide. Let's save this, go into Unreal, compile it, play the game, and you can see that we're printing my name is Kaan Alpar. Perfect, that means we know how to print out integers, floats, and strings inside of our log messages, which is going to be extremely important in the future, just like I said, because we're going to be able to see exactly what our values are and have better awareness of what our code is doing. We do have more format specifiers that we can learn. It is not limited to just these three. For example, we have C for printing out a character, but these are the ones that we're going to use the most, and we can learn the rest if we need it in the future as the time comes. But we're going to leave it here for this lecture and continue in the next one.